The woods had always been a place of peace for me, a retreat, a sanctuary. That's why, when I found an old unmarked trail deep in the national forest, I didn't think twice before following it. The map I carried showed no signs of this path, yet it wound through the trees like it had been there for decades. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long golden shadows through the dense foliage, and the air was thick with the scent of damp earth and pine. I told myself I'd explore for an hour, maybe take a few pictures and turn back before nightfall. The first sign that something was wrong came when the usual sounds of the forest faded away. No birds, no insects, just silence. At first I chalked it up to my imagination, but as I walked deeper, the silence became suffocating. It felt like the woods were listening, watching. I laughed it off, adjusting my backpack and quickening my pace. But then, a sound, a branch snapping behind me. My breath hitched as I spun around, shining my flashlight into the trees. Nothing. Just the shifting shadows of the branches swaying gently in the breeze. I exhaled, shaking my head. Get it together, I thought. It's just the forest settling. As dusk settled, I realized I had made a mistake. The path had twisted and turned so many times that I had lost my bearings. My phone had no signal, and my compass spun uselessly as if something was interfering with it. I set up a small camp, telling myself I'd retrace my steps in the morning. The fire flickered, sending dancing shadows across the towering trees. I ate in silence, the unease in my stomach making food almost unbearable. And then I heard it. Whispers. Faint, just beyond the fire's glow. I froze, heart hammering in my chest. The wind, maybe? But no. This was different. It was rhythmic, intentional. Words I couldn't quite make out, spoken in a voice that sent a shiver down my spine. Gripping my flashlight, I turned slowly, scanning the trees. My beam caught something. Eyes, two, glowing faintly in the darkness. They didn't move. They didn't blink. They just stared. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to look away, but something deep inside screamed at me not to turn my back. Then, as suddenly as they appeared, they were gone. The undergrowth rustled, but there was no sound of footsteps. I told myself it was an animal, maybe a deer, but deep down, I knew better. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak, every whisper of wind against the leaves sent my nerves into overdrive. I gripped my knife, my mind racing with explanations, anything but the truth. And then, just past midnight, I heard it again. Not whispers this time. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming closer. I held my breath, my pulse roaring in my ears. The footsteps stopped just beyond my tent. I could feel something standing there just out of sight. I wanted to move, to run, but fear held me frozen in place. And then, just as the silence became unbearable, I heard it. A voice. Low, raspy, right next to my ear. "You shouldn't have come here." I screamed, tearing out of the tent, running blindly into the darkness. Branches slashed at my skin, roots threatened to trip me, but I didn't stop. The forest around me was alive with movement now, rustling, whispering, chasing. My flashlight flickered, then died completely. I was running in complete darkness, my own ragged breathing the only sound besides whatever was following me. And then suddenly the trees parted, and I stumbled into a clearing. The first rays of dawn were creeping over the horizon, painting the sky in soft pinks and oranges. I had made it. Somehow, I had made it. In the distance, I saw the road. Safety. Civilization. My chest heaved as I sprinted towards it, my muscles screaming in protest. But just before I stepped onto the pavement, I stopped dead in my tracks. There in the soft dirt were footprints. My footprints. Leading not away from the woods, but back into them. I felt my blood run cold as I turned, my breath hitching in my throat. The trees loomed over me, dark and endless. And in the shadows, barely visible between the trunks, were those same glowing eyes, watching, waiting. Had I escaped? Or had I never left at all?